This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Well, despite the intervention by the courts, July was a record month in apprehensions of people in this country illegally, according to DHS. Tom Homan's been out talking about it, too. And ICE and Department of Homeland Security are doing as much as they can, trying to get creative with obtaining specific performance from local officials and sanctuary jurisdictions to make it as safe and efficient for all parties involved, as Homan always says, when it comes to enforcement and removal operations. Looking at county sheriffs, federal authorities sent Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart subpoenas for inmates wanted for civil immigration enforcement, along with letters that threatened criminal charges if Dart's office did not turn over the individuals, if effectively Dart aided and abetted the escape of somebody that federal authorities want, a la Hannah Dugan in Milwaukee. Letters, I should say, from ICE been sent to other sheriffs in places similarly situated in Cook County, like in Hennepin County, Minnesota, too. Of course, as this is being received as a scare tactic by these politicians in police uniforms. But good to put them on notice. And if they do cross the line, as we've talked about with Sanctuary City Paul's, just like that case study of that Milwaukee County judge, then they should be made an example of. But if nothing else, it's a way to at least make sure that local sheriffs, as well as other local electeds, know that ICE is, number one, paying attention, and number two, continuing on with their business. For more on this and other related matters, please be joined again by Brian Lonergan, who is the Director of Strategic Communications and Content at FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform. He's also the co-host of the No Border, No Country podcast. Brian, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Dan, good morning.
Good morning. So the latest approach to try to rattle the cages of local officials in sanctuary states and counties, trying to get law enforcement to behave as like law enforcement.
Yeah, well, we found these sanctuary politicians really don't like enforcement, and they've tried to demonize the people who are brave enough to enforce the laws, and right up to the point of their lives are in danger. They want their masks taken off so they can be doxxed online, and there's no limit to the restrictions they want to put on them to execute laws that are on the books.
But I mean, do you think this is a worthwhile effort, even though it may end up being fruitless, to try to pressure at least compliance at the sort of the basic interagency law enforcement level? Like, we send subpoenas, we expect you to comply with them.
Yeah, well, it raises the whole question. Are we talking ICE? You've got federal agents who are supposed to be brought to heel by state and local governments. That's not how it's supposed to work.
Yes, there is this matter of the supremacy clause. No, I understand, but this is the sort of purgatory we've been in the sanctuary jurisdiction era for some time, right? Yeah,
and they have a very poor grasp of the supremacy clause. The duties of the state and local government is very clearly defined, and the duties of the federal government are clearly defined. But they want to have that underclass of people here illegally that I think they hope someday are going to be granted amnesty, that they'll now have this new voting bloc. So they protect them very, very tightly, and the rights of the citizens of that community are just secondary.
There's been some action on H-1B visas, too. This is point of much debate, even in conservative circles. There's about 1 million foreign workers on H-1B visas in the country. Every year, about 120,000 new workers get imported, if you will, by Fortune 500 companies and others, but mainly the bigger companies under H-1B. And DHS has advanced a proposal that would abolish the 60-day grace period for H-1B visa foreign workers to find employment after a job loss. Right now they have a 60-day grace period before their legal status is impacted, and DHS is proposing taking that from 60 to 0. Like if you don't have a H-1B visa, H-1B designation to be here because you're not working anymore, then you have to go back.
Well, it seems like the mask has come off the H-1B issue. The corporations told us initially, we need these people because there's nobody here that can do it or wants to do it. And the reality is our colleges are cranking out graduates every year in these fields. They can do it. But what the reality is these companies, like a lot of companies, they're addicted to cheap foreign labor, and they're fine with having less opportunities for American citizens as long as their bottom line works out as far as lower labor costs. And it's not a question of there's no one here to do it qualified. It's not a question of are there enough people to do it here? They are. But we've got to get off this addiction to foreign cheap labor.
Well, I think, too, I mean, even when you're talking about like white-collar jobs, and it still could be cheaper than what you would pay an American or be compelled to be competitive. So I get that. But the other thing, it seems to me, that we found out as this discussion has unfolded over the last, since Trump was reelected. And some of the arguments, like I said, on the right, between those who take your position and those who are more supportive of the program, like Vivek Ramaswamy or Elon Musk. Part of what we find, and we found this during Doge too, is there's just no real oversight. I mean, basically the system is the honor system, and you just sort of defer to the corporations that are the beneficiaries of the H-1B visa program, that what they're doing is complying with the spirit of the H-1B visa. And you start to scratch below the surface that people have, and you start to say, well, wait a second, this is not really what the program was intended to provide. There's not, to no one's surprise, but there's gaming of the system here happening. And so at minimum, I think there's consensus that needs to be tightened up. You can't have corporations self-policing in their self-interest as opposed to complying with the letter as well as the spirit of the H-1B provision.
Absolutely. We cannot live on the honor system anymore when it comes to things like that. We also can't have elections that are run with no ID presented by voters. That's another form of the honor system we've been relying on for too long. And if you're going to have these kind of policies, which we're trying to roll back, but if they're here, the honor system doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, you wrote about that, Jim Crow 2.0, or are we on 3.0 now? The typical argument that's being made by those opposed to voter ID requirements to vote, the SAVE Act, which is that this will somehow imperil the rights of minorities and women to vote, and it's Jim. We've all heard the arguments. The thing that's the most disappointing here, again, looking at the Republican Party as opposed to the race hustlers that are built into the price of this, is you have the left that's willing to take 20%, 10%, 5% issues in terms of popular support and try and ram them down the American people's throats. You see that happening right now with DSA candidates all over the country. And you have a Republican Party that can't figure out how to get an 80% plus issue across the finish line, even with majorities.
It is maddening, Dan. This is a classic 80-20 issue. It's probably even higher than 80-20. And the people they claim are going to be negatively impacted by it are for it. So the burden shouldn't be on people who want ID. The burden should be on people who are against it to give concrete reasons why we shouldn't have it. And they can't do it. And all they have is race card playing and demagoguery, which is nothing. It's just scare tactics.
I wanted to get your take as well on something we mentioned at the outset, the TPS protections that have been rescinded for particular populations, including the Haitians, where you've had pushback from politicians, including Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, who is very worried about the impact it will have on the healthcare industry, health services industry in Ohio, and things like that. In addition to the model and stories you're going to hear on the cable news channels, certain cable news channels, about the wonderful people who are being returned to a place that they also call wonderful, but somehow is bad news for them.
Well, this is another government program that has been weaponized by these anti-borders politicians and turned into a de facto amnesty program. You've got people that came here 10, 20 years ago after an earthquake in their country, and they're using that as a justification.
Brian Lonergan is the Director of Strategic Communications and Content at FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform, also the co-host of the podcast No Border, No Country. Brian, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan.
And Brian joined us in the alphawealthgroup.com answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Foundations of Freedom, a look at America's founding principles and the leaders who shaped our nation.
In 1783, the Revolutionary War was nearly over, but America's future remained uncertain. Officers in the Continental Army were angry. Congress had failed to provide promised pay, and some considered using the Army's power to force the government's hand. George Washington understood their frustration, but he also knew the liberty they had fought to win could be destroyed by the very army that secured it. Washington confronted his officers and urged them to choose honor, patience, and loyalty to the Republic over rebellion. He could have used their anger to increase his own power. Instead, he used his influence to restrain it. Power asks what it can take. Character asks what duty requires. Washington's lesson still stands. Freedom survives when leaders place principle above ambition and remain faithful to God, country, and the people they serve.
Hi, I'm Dr. Huber with Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Back when the government was suppressing other forms of therapy for COVID and many doctors were being persecuted for stepping up, we felt the absolute necessity to act. That's why I developed Virago during the pandemic, to give people a powerful way to strengthen their immune system and fight back. Since then, feedback from users has shown us that Virago helps with so much more than what we originally anticipated, bringing relief and improvement to people dealing with allergies, asthma, autoimmune diseases by supporting a healthy immune function. Join me Friday, August 28th at Seanfest. Tune in or come by and hear me interviewed by the great Sean Thompson, a true patriot, for a conversation you won't want to miss.
Order your bottle of Virago today. Visit myvirago.com. Use the coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
At Signature, a division of Esquire Bank, going the distance for business banking clients is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, and a plan for growth. They do not have time to wait for answers. With Signature, you have a trusted banking partner focused on understanding your business and helping you move forward. When you have a question or need support, you want someone who will pick up the phone, respond to your text, and be there when it matters. That's Signature. We are a team that